Hi everyone, Jackie here. Um, it's Monday, September 28th, and today is day 2 for me. It's the second walk for the virtual spirit walk for the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal. So for those of you who maybe are seeing this for the first time, we're raising funds for the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal. Something that happens every year, the Spirit Walk, and this year the funds are going to help pay for an employee to advocate for the rights of children, Indigenous children. You can look into the foster care system and things like that to know why this is very important. So you can go on the Spirit Walk's main page, or even just my fundraising page, which you'll get a link to if you're watching this, for a bigger explanation. So for today's short video, I wanted to talk a bit more about accountability, which is something I brought up yesterday in yesterday's video, and I wanted to elaborate a little bit on some thoughts on that. And I think it's really important to talk about accountability often, and especially for folks who in my work I encounter a lot of non-Indigenous folks who are really new to thinking about these topics, and folks who are part of the dominant society, people of European settler descent. Often there's some people who are in denial about it, and there's not much you can do to change their minds. But there are folks who are very well-intentioned, and who, once they start learning about this stuff, the first emotion is often guilt. And I get that, been through that, and it still comes up. We can't really control our emotions, right? So the thing with guilt, and again, this is a lot of what I say is not stuff I made up. It's stuff from reading the work of activists, Indigenous activists, but also other activists, Black activists, people of color. Excuse me. And guilt is a paralyzing emotion. And so, again, you can have the guilt, you can feel it, talk about it maybe with somebody who, a fellow settler, for example. But really, there's a need to move beyond that and to think more in terms of accountability. And particularly in a situation, so we're raising funds, right? And we're raising funds, and they're using a platform called GoFundMe Charity. And, that's a tool that's available. So I don't have a problem with using that platform. It's useful, it's functional, and it's accessible, relatively accessible. The problem is with the word charity, because with the word charity, there's a lack of accountability there. Charity is seen as people can pat themselves on the back and say, I'm a good person, I'm a philanthropist, and a lot of these billionaires, multi-billionaires, wind up looking really good because, oh, look, they give so much money to charity, they're good people. But charity is power. Philanthropy is power. If you give to charity, you're choosing to do so, and it means you can choose not to. And therefore, you have power over people who need those funds. And those funds were badly distributed to start with. If some folks in the world have a disproportionate amount of wealth, and some people are starving, and you have these people who are very wealthy and who get to make the choice to give or not to give. Are you proper enough? Are you palatable enough for them to consider giving to you? Can you check off all the right boxes? Is the timing good? They get to make choices on whether they'll give or they'll keep that money to buy another yacht or take another trip. And this doesn't apply to people who are obscenely wealthy, by the way. If you say, maybe consider yourself middle class, and you have disposable income, you had the opportunity to save enough money to put a down payment on a house at some point in your life, If your car breaks down, you can easily get it fixed without really, you're not going to be in the streets. You don't have to choose between your car repair and paying your rent or mortgage and buying food. If your car breaks down for good, you can go to a dealer and get a car without too much of a hassle. You can make all these choices. You can do all that, and you can take a trip every year. Well, in pre-COVID times, an international trip, like, it's no big deal. You can make all these choices. Well, I'm sorry. You could be a really good person. You could be a very caring person. You can be a philanthropist, and you can do all that and give money. But the fact that you had that to start with, and as I said yesterday, if you're a settler here and you had access to those opportunities, it is inherently on the backs of Indigenous folks and other marginalized people, in particular Black people and people of color, with all the discrimination that has contributed to, well, it comes from white supremacy and contributes to its perpetuation. So I'm sorry, but you don't have to be obscenely wealthy to be a part of that power dynamic. I am definitely not obscenely wealthy. I'm from a working class family. Both parents at some point or another were on welfare. They did the best that they could, dealt with addictions, dealt with poverty, been evicted from an apartment before, and I have massive student debt. But because of my white privilege, I was able to deal with that, and other advantages, like, I'm good in school, so I was able, when you're good in school and you're able to talk the talk, you can convince people to hire you even if you're not qualified, and things like that. So I have all these little advantages, and I'm part of that power. I'm not exempting myself from this. And I also get to choose whether I want to participate in the Spirit Walk and throw in my $20 to register and to do this fundraising, or I could walk away from it if I wanted to and just ignore it. That's power. So I'm calling on all the people who, like me, even if you are not obscenely wealthy, you're not a billionaire, you don't own Amazon or Microsoft, well, you don't need to be one of those people to be accountable. We all are, because we've all, even you can have worked hard, and there's no denying, like, you can still take pride in the work that you've done to achieve whatever it is that you've achieved. I'm proud of what I've achieved. But still, there's an element of it that comes from privilege, and we need to be accountable for that. And I'll stop there because I don't want to make these videos too long. But I will talk more about accountability in the sense of, like, well, what do we inherit from previous generations? And yeah, I'll talk about John A. Macdonald. Woohoo! So anyway, I know I sound angry. I've been talking about this stuff for a long time. And I've tried the nice approach, and I feel that at this point I've won over all the people who were already going to inform themselves anyway. And I did the whole, attract more flies or bees with honey. And I'm at the point where I just want to grab people by the collar and shake them, because it's frustrating to just see, even online, all the comments like, our taxes and blah 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 blah, and people patting themselves on the back because they just throw a bit of money here and there. All that to say, accountability and reparations. That's another topic for one of my videos. Not charity. Please, even though the word charity is in the GoFundMe, see this as reparations and accountability. So that's it. I hope you have a really nice evening. Thanks again to all of you who have donated to the Native Women's Shelter's Spirit Walk, either through me or someone else. And if you haven't yet, if payday is coming, you're waiting for payday, mark it on your calendar, please, and go back to my profile and find the link. And if you can't, some people genuinely are struggling, and I get that. There are other things that you can do, and we'll talk about that too. But one thing you can do right now, today, is share my page. Not necessarily this video, because if you share this with your friends, they're like, who's this Jackie asshole? We don't know him. We don't want to listen to what he has to say. But you can maybe put a little blurb, share the GoFundMe page, say why you think is it important. Your friends will pay more important attention to that than if you just share the link. So maybe if you can just take a minute to explain why it is you're sharing it and why you hope that your friends who have disposable income will contribute. I'm still trying to reach that $2,000 goal. So we're almost there, almost at 1,700 right now. And I'm walking 5 kilometers for every $100 raised. So there you go. So thanks a lot. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.